Alright, so what we basically have going on here is I turn the AC on, the fans kick on and everything like that, but the AC compressor 90% of the time won't turn on. On days when it's actually cool out, it actually does turn on. I can see the compressor kick on. But right now, it does not kick on. And I have metered at the wire that triggers it, which is that guy right there, runs up under here. And it gets voltage, so it should be turning on. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that it gets voltage and show you that the compressor doesn't kick on. And then we're going to go from there and start disassembly. But this is just kind of narrowing down that the issue is with the clutch, because it doesn't kick on, or the stator coil, whatever you want to call it, doesn't kick on. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and fire the old girl up and you can see. Okay, so the AC is on as high as it goes. Not sure how well you can see it, but the clutch is not engaging. And right here, I'm getting a voltage on the trigger wire here that triggers the compressor to go on. So unless we have a disconnected wire down there, it's going to be an issue with the clutch coil assembly there. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking it apart and see what we can do about getting the new one in. Okay, so right now I've got the vehicle jacked up, supported on jack stands. I got the passenger side wheel off, and to get to the pulleys and whatnot, I'm going to take off those two clips right there. I'm going to see if I can just pull this down to be able to work, otherwise I'll take off that whole underbelly shield. Alright, so this is looking like it's not going to work out in my favor. If you look there, there's maybe an inch until you hit the body of the car. So that's not going to work. So I'm not going to be able to do it from here. So unfortunately what I'll have to do, which probably will be another day at this point, will be take off the front bumper, pull the radiator, and then unbolt the compressor and flop it to the side, which really sucks because I didn't really want to have to do that. Alright, so you can see here I've skipped ahead a little bit. Reason being is the taking off the bumper and draining the coolant is really a simple thing. Not a whole lot to show. There's other tutorials online on how to do that, so I wasn't really too focused on that. So right now I got the bumper off, got the coolant drained. I also am getting off the little T-bar here, and I went ahead and undid all the bolts. It's pretty obvious which ones are which. The radiator ones, those ones, a couple of clips here that clip the wiring harness in there, took off the latch assembly, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the T-bar out, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the radiator out. You'll see why I had to do this once I show you when I go ahead and unbolt the compressor. There's really not much of a way around it, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you once it's off. I'm not going to show you removing it. It's really more or less self-explanatory. Alright, so I went ahead and wiggled the radiator out and T-bar out. So on the radiator, there's the radiator hose on the bottom you got to unhook, and this connector right here, as well as connector on each fan. And then from there, it just pulls right up. It's really tight, so you'll probably have some issues getting it out, especially the first time if it's never been out. So not a huge deal, but yeah. So here now you can see the reason I had to do this is because to unbolt the compressor, you got to get to the bolts right there. So these two right here, you can get to really easily from right here. But these other two, you got to do from right down in this area with a little joint extension here. So I'll show you how I do that. I believe if I remember right, they're 14. So I'll show you how we get into those to undo those. But first I'm going to undo the belt, obviously, because the compressor's going to come out, the belt's got to come off first. Alright, so I'm not being great about filming this, but so I went ahead and got bottom one over there out. I was able to sneak the thing right through here, and then with the same extensions setup that I got right here. The top ones I was able just to undo normally from up there. These bottom ones, you gotta have this angle at it, otherwise you can't really get it. It kind of sucks because it seems like it'd be really easy to strip them. These have been out before, so they're not stripping or anything like that. But yeah, so I'm on the last bolt right now. Then I'm gonna see what kind of room I've got to work with it flopping around to go ahead and take off the clutch, because I'm not wanting to undo the lines, because then I gotta, you know, put a vacuum on it and everything like that and refill it, and don't want to do that. So okay, so right now I've got the compressor unbolted. I also went ahead and undid the line right there and right there. Those are just brackets that hold the line. The line is still connected, so you know, I didn't undo any of those. And I was just wiggling it around. I should be able to get it up in this area to work. So yeah. Okay, so I got the compressor unbolted. I undid the little bolts that hold the line. So there's one up there, one down there, and one right there. They're just some 10 millimeters. I undid those, and now I should be able to get it up in this area here. Alright, so the 12 millimeter nut on the compressor is kind of being a pain because it'll just spin, so I'm going to go ahead and use an impact. And it's, like I said, 12 millimeter. Alright, the clutch comes right off. Putting it to the side. And then just like before, there's going to be some little clips in there, so I'm going to pop those off. Some little C-clips, so see if I can zoom in, get a little better shot of this. Okay, so I got that one off, and now we're going to need the puller to pop off the pulley. So I'll grab that. Needed. And now there's another snap ring inside of there. So it's a little pain, but easy to get off, and just using these cheap Craftsman. Alright, so now this should just pop right off. I gotta get something behind it to pry it off. Yeah, it was just stuck on there from rust. So now we gotta get the little wiring harness off, and it's got Alright, you can't really see it from this shot, but on the back there's just a couple of little, there's a barrel connector, and then there's a little tiny like 8 millimeter. I'm going to do the little 8 millimeter ground. Okay, so got it off. It's just a little 8 millimeter on top of the compressor. It's a little thing there, and then a little barrel connector here. So this is junk, so I'm going to go ahead and get the brand new one ready to go in. Alright, so here's our brand new unit. The green is going to be your ground. Not sure why they made green ground, but whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it in. Basically the same way the old one was, so not much to it. Alright, so battery died during that, but I got the clip back in for that. And then, so there's a little bit of wobble there, but I verified on the other one that it's kind of going to be that way. The snap ring's definitely in there. It's not going anywhere. It's just, I don't know, must be this one's cheaper or something. I don't know. The other one was kind of stuck on there from rust, so that may have been what was keeping it from moving at all. So now the next part will be the pulley. I'm not really sure what the best way to go about this is. I'm kind of thinking I'm just going to tap it on with a hammer. Or with a dead blow, rather. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled it back a hair. Pulley spins freely now. So I'm going to get the snap ring in there now. Okay, so now I went ahead and put one of the shims in there. It came with two, but the original only had one, so I went with one, so I'm testing it out right now. Okay, so I put the second shim in there and it looks a little better. So right now spins a little free. You can see a little gap in between there. Now I put 12 volts to it, clicks on. and it works just fine. And I feel a little better with the gap there, so I'm going to go ahead and send it like that. Okay, so here's an interesting development. So if I tap it straight to the wire right here, it clicks on. This is the plug that gets triggered on by the computer and whatnot. So tapping to this should trigger that on, and it is not. It's not doing it there or on the connector on the other side on the wire itself. So there's definitely something else going on here. Maybe I didn't even need to change this out, which kind of sucks. But it looks like maybe there's an issue, because I see on the compressor it goes in from one and goes, like, two wires go into the compressor, and then, like, I'm not sure what it does internally, but then it clicks it on. So I'm wondering if the compressor is actually bad internally. I don't know. I'm gonna go look at the one that I've got on the floor over there. Okay, so to remove this thermal protector, I'm basically drilling a hole through the plastic middle part in there and driving a fat screw through it, and then I drive it in with the drill first, but then so it doesn't end up going through the compressor or anything goofy, I drive it in the rest of the way with a screwdriver by hand, and it ends up popping out a lot of the plastic. And I actually did the same thing on my test compressor down here, and initially I tried to just pry the thing out, but it's so corroded in there from the copper and the aluminum and salt and everything like that. Okay, and there you can see how badly corroded it was in there. There was no way that was coming out easy. But it's not ideal, but it came out, so now I'm going to go ahead and order the new one. Unfortunately, it's discontinued at every dealership nearby, and nobody has it in stock, so I have to order it online. Not a huge deal, but just annoying. The car's got to sit for a few days apart. Okay, so I was actually able to find the part. Supposedly it was the last one in the country from any dealership. Tried ordering on a couple of Honda part sites. They all said out of stock, no ETA, discontinued, yada yada. So one of the dealerships that I called local to me looked it up, and somehow they said this place in New York had it. So I called them, they had one, had to pay $20 extra to ship plus dealer prices, so it came out to like $80, but this is the part, so now I don't have to do any bypass or anything like that, which is great. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this and start getting this whole thing back together. It took a little while. It's been a week and a half or so since I took this thing apart, and I was trying to find this part. I didn't know I needed it at the time, otherwise I wouldn't have taken it all apart and had it sitting here. So yeah. Okay, so I went ahead and put the new sensor, protector, switch, whatever you want to call it, in there. So now I got the test set up again here, and this time I'm gonna test it at the plug here. I'm gonna put 12 volts to it, and clutch goes in. So we're good there. I also have the negative, or the grounded as well, because it's not mounted to the car, so it's not going to ground. But yeah, so it should click on now the way it should, which is good. So now I'm going to start the reassembly.